Hi everyone, welcome to our weekly roundup topics. So the topics we're covering today are negative numbers and its basic ratio. So I just want to talk a little bit about what we'll be doing from now until September, because I really want you to buy into this. Okay, so even if you find these two topics fairly straightforward, totally fine, but I want you to buy in to the philosophy of what we're doing from now until September. So this is week commencing 6th of July. So I assume that everyone watching this video is aiming for either a grade 4 or a grade 5. Now, if we do not really focus on grade 1 and grade 2 topics, we can't build a big enough foundation to make sure that the stability of the grade we can build of grade 4, grade 5 is strong enough and a stable enough structure to build those grades. So, for example, you might be thinking maybe my grade 1 skills are 90% secure, let's say. Let's say grade 2 is 85%. Let's say grade 3 is, I don't know, 75%, just making up numbers here. And this might be enough to get you the grade 4. It might be. But if we can get your grade 1 skills to 99%, if we can get your grade 2 skills to 98%, without us even touching grade 3, we've probably gained an extra 10 marks there in the exam. But then, look what happens. We build a really secure base. Our network between topics is stronger. And just the act of building grade 1 and grade 2 skills stronger means we can better access the grade 3, the grade 4, the grade 5 skills. So I think that these skills will automatically improve. It means that you can do the skills and have the lessons taught you at school and in my lessons or whatever you're doing be taught to you better, and everything works out well, much better up there because we've got better grade 1 and grade 2 skills. So don't discard grade 1 and grade 2 just because you think that they're easy. Anyway, let's get straight into, let's do negative numbers first, nice and straightforward. Okay, so I just want to get some information on here, so you might have to bear with me. First thing I want to draw is, you might have seen this box before. So you might have seen plus plus, so you might want to say it out loud as we go through this. So what is plus plus? We know this is a positive. In fact, let me just get rid of that there. That's a bit neater, isn't it? So we know that's going to be positive. How about a minus minus? That's going to be plus. Plus and minus makes a minus, and a minus and a plus makes a minus. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, yeah, I've got it memorized. That's fine. But I prefer you to memorize it this way. So look at that group there. If it's the same sign, it's going to be positive. Okay. And if it is the different sign, it's going to be negative. Okay. So let's have some examples. So let's tackle multiplying and dividing first. So for example, if we've got 2 multiplied by negative 4, in this instance, I want you to do the numbers first. 2 times by 4 and we get 8. Now look at the signs. Can you see the signs are different? So that's what I want you to say. I don't want you to look at that and go plus and minus. Oh, what does that make? No. Are the signs the same? No. They're different, which means the answer is going to be negative. Don't make it any more complicated than that. Maybe we've got something like negative 3 times by negative 6. Okay, numbers first. 3 times by 6 gives us 18. Next, are the signs the same or different? They're both negative. So the same sign we can see is positive. So therefore, this is just going to be plus 18. Okay, we might have something like negative 7 times by 2. Same process. 7 times by 2 gets us 14. The signs are different. So that makes negative 14. So that would be your answer. Okay, that's multiplying done. Let's now tackle division. Let's say I've got negative 10 divided by 2. Numbers first, same again. 10 divided by 2 gets us 5. Look at the signs. The signs are different, so therefore it makes negative. What if we got something like negative 100 divided by, let's say, negative 20? 100 divided by 20 gets us 5. Now look at the signs. We don't need to look at the divide as a sign. That's an operation. Look at the signs. Take away. So negative, negative. Same sign. Must be positive, so that answer is going to be positive 5. Okay, so I'm hoping that all makes sense to people then. I'm just going to draw a quick number line, so you might have to bear with me whilst I get this drawn. Okay, so in your exam, you obviously won't be given the number line, but there's nothing stopping you from drawing one. So I'm only going to do a couple of bits on there, so just so I can get this out, purpose of ease and all that. Okay, there we go. So, for example, we might have a question that says something like, I don't know, 2 minus 3. Now, the first number is called the placeholder. It doesn't matter if that's positive or negative, that's the placeholder. So that is the position that you go to on your number line. So 2, there's number 2. I'm going to start at 2, and I'm going to go back 3 places. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 places, and that's going to land on -1. Okay, so that makes -1 for us. That's supposed to be the number 1. Okay, I might have something like 4 take away 7. So we start at number 4. Now, you know, when you start counting, people start counting. If you count your fingers, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So you start at 1 like this, right? But with the number line, wherever you are starting, you're not counting that number as 1 because you haven't moved 1. That's where a lot of people make a mistake in this. So start at 4, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, -3. So do that there like that. Okay. If you are somebody who's notorious for making mistakes, I would recommend drawing your number line, count along. That's all you need to do. Okay, next. What if we've got -2 plus 3? A lot of people try to evaluate the signs there. If we've got a minus and a plus. Oh, a minus and a plus, the different signs makes negative. It doesn't. Because this negative is attached to the 2 and it's not part of the operation bit here. Okay. So this -2 means we go to -2. Then it says add 3. So we go 1, 2, 3, goes to +1, and that's all we've got to do. Okay, next, last example on these sort of things. So let's go to -1 minus 3, for example. So again, people tend to look at this and go, well, I've got 2 different signs. We haven't. One's negative and one is subtract. Okay, so if you go to -1 on your number line, it is saying start there and then go back 3 places. Okay, so we go start here, we go 1, 2, 3. So this is going to get us -4. Okay, hopefully all that makes sense. So let's combine some signs. This is where people get confused. So let's say, for example, we've got 2 plus -3. Okay. Now, look at the signs that are in the middle. We've got 2 signs together. That's the only other time we need to evaluate using these boxes here. So we circle those signs together, just the ones in the middle, and we say, well, they're both different signs. So because they're different, the question now reads 2 take away 3, and that's the -1 there. Okay, maybe you've got something like 4 minus -6. Again, we've got 2 in the center, so we're going to circle those and we're going to get plus. So this now reads 4 plus 6, and we get 10. Okay, let's do one more example. Let's say I've got something like -1 take away 3. Okay, now you think to yourself, people, oh, look, we've got 3 signs. Which are the only 2 we circled? It's the ones that are together. So we circle those 2 and we drop down the plus. The -1 gets dropped down and this 3 gets dropped down. And this tends to be where people go, well, I've got a minus and a plus. I'll divide. No, we've got a -1. The -1 is where we start. It says +3. So 1, 2, 3. So this is going to get us 2. Okay, I'm hoping that was all okay for everyone. I'm just going to give you a few examples on ratios. So this is basic ratios. So this is simplifying first. I'm going to do a couple of examples on this. Okay, so I think I want to give you examples on, and by the way, I'm keeping this to the dead basics. This is grade 1 and grade 2 stuff. So I'm only going to go over question 6 and question 5. Okay, so that first question says, write down the ratio 15 to 35 in its simplest form. So what this means is, like, let's say this is money. Let's say I get £15 for every £35 you get. Okay. But it doesn't mean for every 15 you get 35. We could simplify that down because, like, if I get 1 for every 2 you get, that also means for every 2 I get, you get 4. For every 20 you get 40. For every 100 you get 20. So you get double what I get. So we can simplify that ratio down because 15 to 35 could look a little bit complicated. So when we simplify this, we do it in a similar form that we do when we simplify fractions. So 13, that doesn't say 13, does it? It says 15. 15 and 35. What number goes into both? Well, let's divide these both by 5. So how many 5s go into 15? That'd be 3. How many 5s go into 35? That would be 7. So the final answer of this is 3 to 7. So it's the same sort of process that we do for simplifying fractions, but we just write them in the ratio form. Okay, so that would be part A. Then part B, there are red shapes and blue shapes in a box. So red shapes and blue shapes in a box. 2/3 of the shapes are red. Okay, so if we go back to A, can you see that there are 10 parts in total? Does that make sense? Yeah. So I get 3 parts, you get 7 parts. So in total, there are 10 parts. Yeah. So this says 2/3 are red. So out of the 3 parts, 2 of them are red. So what does that mean the rest of the blue are? Well, it must be 1. Okay. That tends to be the type of question where students either get it or they don't. But as soon as you get it, it just clicks forever. So just stick with that just long enough for the cogs to turn there. Okay, let's go to question A and question 6. So we have 81 and 27. So we're trying to simplify this. So because they're large numbers, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, I don't really know what's the largest number there. So some of you might be able to spot that it's the 9 times table. I can see 3 goes into this because that's in the 3 times table. 8 plus 1 is 9. And anything where the digits add to in the 3 times table, the whole thing's in the 3 times table. So that works and makes sense. But also they're both in the 27 times table. But I'm just going to assume that people can only spot that this is 9s. So if I divide this by 9, this becomes 3. If I divide this by 9, it becomes 9. But it says write it in its simplest form. We have simplified, but it's not simplest form. So let's simplify. So let's divide this by 3 again. So this becomes 3 and this becomes 1. Okay. You don't do this next bit, by the way, but I just wanted to show this will help you with question B. That's got 4 parts. So I'm just writing that in there. So question B says we've got 3/8 of a box of chocolates. We've got white chocolates and we've got milk chocolate. So 3/8 are white. Okay. So 3 out of the 8. That means the other 5 must be milk chocolate. But it says write the ratio, which would be this. But if it's 3/8 white chocolate, milk chocolate would be 5/8. So you could do things that way, and then the 5 you just automatically get from there. So either of those would be absolutely fine. Okay, I just want to show one last thing, and it's Will and Ollie with their sharing the ratio. So you might have seen this, might see it called a splitting ratio, but typically it's called sharing ratio. Now, in the exam, the exam's notorious for doing this, by the way. It's very typical. They do not tell you this is sharing a ratio question. They don't say, do this maths to this question. They just say, here's the question, figure it out. Okay. So if we're sharing, because it does say share, that's in the ratio. So that's kind of part of the topic that we're doing. So that kind of makes sense. So with this one, we've got 3 steps. There's lots of different ways to do this. This is just the way I prefer to teach things. So the first step is to add the ratio parts. So we're going to do 3 plus 2 and we're going to get 5. Now, what does that 5 represent? It means that there are 5 parts. Okay. Then you're going to take what you are splitting. So we're sharing the £80. So £80 divided by the 5 parts, and that's going to get us £16. Now, £16 is worth 1 part. Does that make sense? Because if we've got 5 parts, and they're all 16, 5 times by 16 gets us the 80s. That makes sense. Then in part 3, we're going to write down Will and we're going to write down Ollie. Okay. We're going to take the 16 like this and we're going to times it by their ratios. So Will is 3 parts. So times that by 3 and that gets us it's 48, isn't it? Oh, because I'm recording this, I just want to double check. Yeah, that is, of course, 48. £48, and then Ollie is timesing that by 2 to get £32. It does say work out how much each of them gets, so that's what we've got there. Now, the last thing to do with this type of question is we just need to double check our answers. So if we add Will's amount to Ollie's amount, we add them and we do get £80. So that is the original question, which means we've done it right. So hope that all made sense. Hopefully you took some value from today's session. And yeah, I shall see you guys in the next one.